Today we're going to be talking about Programming 101 and the philosophy of programming for SUU and as it concerns Southern Utah University student clubs and organizations. In terms of looking at your program, the first thing you need to do is really assess what you're trying to accomplish by doing an event. What are the goals? Why do you want to do this program as an organization? What is the benefit? What can we learn? And what are we going to be teaching others? And if this is what the campus wants. I think it's really important to realize that you should not be doing any type of event that it really doesn't fit within your mission and purpose. So who's your audience? Who are you trying to reach? Is this something that will appeal to SU students? Is this something that even students would enjoy in coming to? So let's always remember to balance their needs, desires, and interests. And how is this event looking in terms of the week or month of events that is scheduled already? So what are your event options? You can do music, dance, comedy, novelty, education, lecture, films. You can do whatever you come up and think about. It's just being creative and being prepared. So always start with brainstorming with your organization. To remember that it's really important to just kind of start as outrageous as possible, but then narrow and narrow to something that's more realistic. But let's remember that all of your input from each of your club members is important. So don't, at this process, in this process, you'll definitely want to make sure that everyone has had an opportunity to provide feedback. Be creative. Anything that you can think of is an effective program. Your only challenge is to find an audience. So have you thought about incorporating your program into the planning of a major campus event or tradition? There's a real opportunity to do co-sponsorship with other organizations, other clubs that maybe have similar interests as you do, as well as student government or other entities on campus. Remember that a successful program is at best achieved when you begin to identify and utilize the many resources available to you. Let's start and talk about some of the resources that are available on campus. And remember that first of all, we need to plan our strategy. Do we have enough time to plan this event? Just as policy, you need to make sure that you have had all your paperwork completed at least 10 business days prior to the event. But for a real successful event, you should be considering what you're going to be planning easily 2 to 3 months ahead. Does it fit in your budget? I think sometimes we have great ideas, but we're not realistic on the budget that it's going to take to actually accomplish that. Does your committee or your organization share the vision of this event? If they don't, I really would question why you're doing it in the first place. Remember that you are a club and an organization that works together, not an individual. Can we work with other programming groups to develop a bigger or more inclusive program? The more people you get involved with your program, the higher level of success, because then they are going to also be attending that event as well. And look and see what other schools in the local area, other universities have been finding success with in terms of programming. Remember to get help. You need to set up a meeting with your advisor to discuss your program idea. They're here to assist you with mapping out your programming, helping you think about how to advertise, and determining the areas of the program to be funded or supported with additional volunteers. Remember that there are a lot of resources available to you on campus. For SUU, in terms of looking at your resources, primarily starting with your advisor. That's really important for them to be completely knowing what's going to be happening according to your event. Remember that for a public event on Southern Utah University campus, your advisor needs to be in attendance for the duration of the event. You definitely want to get their buy-in before you plan the event and know that they were willing to support you in that endeavor. The Student Involvement Leadership Office is here to support you. Carrie Meekum and Jake Johnson are there to go through an event with you if you have any questions, to ask those questions that maybe you haven't considered as a group. So please take and utilize them and their resources. Remember, the centralized scheduling office is how you schedule your event on campus. They're also really good at identifying what are your needs in terms of setup, in terms of dates, what would work, what wouldn't. Remember to take advantage of their expertise. And also, make friends with the building manager. Go through how you want to set up your event, and make sure that they're well aware of your needs and that it's something that is feasible to do. Prior to, obviously, getting an event approved, you do need to fill out the student event request form. This provides a lot of instrumental to finding some good information about your event so that we can help you be successful. Please remember that when you're programming the Sharwan Smith Center, that you need to follow and abide by the university policies and policies relating directly to the students, to the student center. Be sure to check that out and read through it. That is also an expectation as being a member of the club, that you've read through these policies. So next, in terms of considering what you're doing in terms of programming and doing your program and event on campus, is looking at your budget. I think the most important thing is to look do you have enough time to plan this event and fund this event? Consider co-sponsoring. Programming is much more fun when it's shared. And co-sponsorship increases your resources and enables groups to work together towards a common goal. And depending on your venue utilized, remember that equipment charges may occur. These are all important questions to ask before you commit to doing the event. Remember that there's always hidden costs. There could be rentals of a stage, lighting, sound, university events, labor. Remember that there are times when university police are required to be there, and that is a significant charge. Also account if you're going to get tickets printed and the staff cost for the box office on the day of the show. Make sure that you've given yourself enough time to program. This chart gives you a good suggested timeline to utilize with programming and planning. As you can see, depending on the size of your event, it really is dependent on when you need to start the planning process. Remember that you begin with long-range goals that start about 4 months, 3 months, or before, but that each area and each date is important to abide by in order for you to be successful in doing your event. Picking the date and location. Always check the campus calendar. Check the facility calendar. Make sure that those two are not going to be in conflict with the activity that you're planning on inviting people to attend. Consider what's happening at the college as well as in the local community. That would be really unfortunate to plan an event and have a large concert going on at the same time. One or both of the groups is really going to lose out when that happens. Consider what you're going to need in terms of bringing in entertainers. Do you need dressing rooms? Where are they going to be in location to your program? Do you require additional security for this event to be successful? Remember that atmosphere is so important in an event. And is your venue conducive to that atmosphere? A good example is, intimate acoustic musician in a basketball arena is not going to be successful. Really consider your building, your location, and what you're planning on and attempting to do. Also remember that it's really important that you have budgeted for everything. Decorations is sometimes an area that people forget, and yet that can be a really large expense. Remember programming dates that you give yourself ample programming time. And remember that when you are working with an agent, you're wanting to provide them that information prior to even calling them initially. Agents and contracts. It is strongly encouraged that you enlist the assistance of the Student Involvement and Leadership Center staff when contacting an agent. They've had a lot more experience in this area and can really help you through the process. When you're putting yourself into that level of commitment and contractual agreement, realize that you are not a legal representative of Southern Utah University. And verbal requests for a contract are sometimes considered verbal agreements, and that commits your organization to that date, and sometimes very much kind of connects your organization to that commitment. Remember that only authorized representatives of the university may sign contracts if you are funding the entertainer through your on-campus account. In working with entertainers, that's really important that students follow some of these simple steps. Always represent your institution in a positive way. Ask for date availability. Describe the event. Give the venue size. Talk about block booking. Block booking means, is there an opportunity for this particular artist or entertainer to be in the local area already? That could significantly decrease your cost of them coming to your campus. Ask about what the going rate is. Sometimes their rate is much higher the first part of the semester versus the middle of a semester. Check travel plans. Check and call for riders. Riders are kind of what the requirements are, both technically for that entertainer to come on campus as well as their hospitality. Remember to leave your advisor's name as additional contact in case it's more difficult for them to get in touch of you, especially if you're in class. Keep notes and log of calls and the discussions that you've had between each other, and share your conversations with your group. Remember, more than anything, to have fun. Contracting dues, you do talk to the agents, you do return phone calls. You pursue talent, you ask a lot of questions and do your research. You ask where else the performer has been. This is a great opportunity to call that university and college and see how well they went as an entertainer on their campus. If they didn't go over well, obviously that might not be a group or an artist that you want to consider. Ask for contact name and number, and ask for availability. And remember that you might need to have several dates in mind. Do ask for price and what that includes, and keep your advisor informed as you're going through this process. Contracting don'ts. Do not make an offer until you've discussed it with your club and have sufficient funds. Also make sure that your advisor is aware and that you have checked your on-campus or off-campus account to make sure that you can afford not just the entertainer but all of the rider requirements that are asked of bringing that entertainer in. Do not ask for a contract unless you're serious in bringing an entertainer. Do not tell the agent your budget amount for your whole event, because then they will make that assumption that that is for the artist itself. Don't be scared, and don't be afraid of hurting the agent's feelings. Don't lose sight of the fact that they are just doing their job. Details make a difference. It's so important to really consider your different areas of promotion. Remember that social networking is extremely effective. Using the campus newspaper, posting your event on various websites that are hosted by the university. SUUSA, Student Involvement Leadership, and SUU all have opportunities for you to advertise your event. Use SUUSA Publicity Office. Contact Public Relations and Marketing for promotion and press releases. Create table tents, posters, banners, and remember that every member of your organization has a responsibility to talk up your event. Send personal invitations to campus departments and other student organizations. Be creative. Word of mouth is the best form of promotion.